Hollywood may be known as the city of lights and glitter, but several of its celebrities had had severe drinking problems that have affected their personal and professional life. Many well-known figures in the profession, from renowned singers to recognizable actors, have battled alcoholism, frequently leaving behind both heartbreaking tales and outstanding performances. We'll look into the lives of 25 famous Hollywood celebrities in this video, ranging from more contemporary actors like Michael Landon to established icons like Frank Sinatra, notorious for drinking excessively. Stay tuned as we examine their fame, prosperity, and self-destruction tales. Richard Burton. One of the most well-known British performers of all time, Richard Burton had a well-publicized alcohol addiction. He was a celebrity on stage and television because of his powerful voice and imposing presence, but his drinking problems almost put an end to his career multiple times. Burton's alcohol intake was notorious. It frequently matched or exceeded that of his wife, Elizabeth Taylor, who was also a heavy drinker. Many of the public arguments that characterized their turbulent relationship were exacerbated by alcohol. Burton allegedly acknowledged using more than 3 bottles of vodka each day, a habit that he admitted was a factor in his declining health and subsequent erratic behavior. Even though he continued to provide outstanding performances, his struggle with drinking finally caught up to him, which resulted in a downturn in his latter years. Despite these difficulties, Burton is still regarded as a legendary character in movie history, respected for his unmatched skill and personal troubles. Leonard Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy, best known for his legendary portrayal as Spock in Star Trek, had a thriving artistic life, although he battled alcoholism for most of his professional life. Though he played the logical, emotionless Vulcan, Nimoy had a different personal life. At the height of his Star Trek stardom, Nimoy started drinking heavily to cope with the demands of success and the tremendous attention he received from fans. His drinking became an addiction that strained his marriage and hurt his mental well-being. Alcohol, Nimoy later acknowledged, became a means for him to repress his feelings, which frequently resulted in loneliness. Thankfully, in his later years, Nimoy overcame his addiction and sought assistance. He was open about his journey to recovery. His battle with alcohol served as a reminder of the challenges faced by those behind the facade of fame, and he went on to become a revered figure in popular culture. Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra, the chairman of the board, was well known for his legendary love of drink, ageless voice, and acting prowess. Living true to the group's wild and carefree image, Sinatra was frequently spotted with a tumbler of Jack Daniels throughout his tenure with the Rat Pack. His public presence included a severe drinking habit, which contributed to the stereotype of the hard-living crooner. Although it appeared to bolster his bluster, alcohol also added to the unpredictability of his interpersonal and professional interactions. Some who knew him well claimed that Sinatra had a tendency to be charming one minute and violently enraged the next, a behavior that was frequently made worse by alcohol. However, Sinatra's enormous skill always came through, overshadowing his darker difficulties with alcohol-fueled shenanigans. Barbara Payton. The ascent and descent of Barbara Payton in Hollywood matched the intensity of any movie narrative. Payton was once a gifted actress, but her unhealthy alcoholism rapidly caused her career to get out of hand. Her personal life, especially her tumultuous relationships with men like Franco Tone and Tom Neal, overshadowed her brief career in Hollywood, which featured roles in movies like Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye. Her alcoholism increased along with her problems, which resulted in a string of scandals that all but terminated her career. Due in part to her drinking problem, Payton's demise was swift, and she became a prime example of how celebrity can breed self-destruction. Payton was homeless, needy, and struggling with severe alcoholism by the 1960s. She ultimately died at the age of 39, leaving a heartbreaking legacy of unfulfilled promise and the murky side of Hollywood. Elizabeth Taylor. One of the most well-known actresses in Hollywood history, Elizabeth Taylor was renowned for her beauty, acting prowess, and turbulent personal life, primarily characterized by binge drinking. Taylor's struggles, such as her alcoholism, frequently surfaced in public despite her being a true star from the minute she stepped onto the screen. Her turbulent relationships, especially the one she had with Richard Burton, were characterized by intense peaks and heartbreaking troughs, with alcohol often at the core of their issues. Taylor said that she drank excessively, especially during her rough moments, and she even checked herself into rehab several times over the years. Her battles with alcoholism were widely reported, but she also rose to prominence as a resilience icon, conquering her private challenges and utilizing them to speak out for others facing comparable challenges. Oliver Reed. Off-screen as much as on, Oliver Reed was a well-known hellraiser. He is renowned for his impactful performances in Gladiator and Oliver. Reed has a famous reputation for binge drinking. His off-screen antics frequently eclipsed his acting prowess, with news of his outrageous behavior frequently making headlines. Adopting a boisterous attitude, Reed often boasted about his wild drinking adventures, once claiming to have consumed more than 100 pints of beer in a single weekend. His alcohol-fueled lifestyle caused health problems in addition to several public incidents. Sadly, Reed's persistent struggle with alcohol contributed to his premature death at the age of 61. He supposedly got into a drinking contest in a Malta pub before suffering a heart attack while filming Gladiator. Reed endured hardships, yet his performances are remembered as classic examples of his unbridled brilliance and love of the performing arts. Michael Landon. Star of Little House on the Prairie and Bonanza, Michael Landon was well liked in Hollywood, but his sober exterior concealed a hidden struggle with alcohol. Although Landon was well known for his diligence and commitment on set, he battled drinking off-screen. The latter part of his career saw a noticeable increase in his drinking, particularly as he faced personal problems, including the dissolution of his 19-year marriage and receiving a pancreatic cancer diagnosis. Landon drank a lot as a coping technique, and although it never hurt his career, it did damage his relationships with other people. Despite his difficulties, Landon was respected for his tenacity and capacity to remain professional despite adversity. Fans were brokenhearted to learn of his death in 1991, but he left a lasting legacy as an actor and director, and his films continued to influence and motivate younger people. Dean Martin. Known by many as the King of Cool, Dean Martin was renowned for his smooth voice and easygoing style. Alongside Frank Sinatra, Martin was a vital component of the Rat Pack and frequently portrayed the affable, laid-back drunk on and off television. Martin was a big drinker and often drank whiskey while performing on stage, despite the misconception held by many that his constant drinking was a part of his act. His passion for drinking became part of who he was, and he was hardly seen without one. But his drinking secretly caused conflict in his personal life, particularly with his family. Although some contended that Martin exaggerated his drinking for humorous effect, intimate friends acknowledged that he did suffer from a true alcohol addiction. Despite his difficulties, Dean Martin's charm and talent were evident, solidifying his place as one of Hollywood's most cherished performers. Carrie Grant. On the big screen, Carrie Grant embodied elegance and charm, but often he struggled with a darker, alcohol-fueled side. Grant, who was well known for his prominent parts in iconic films like Charade and North by Northwest, presented a tidy public image, but behind closed doors, alcohol was a big part of his life. Due to Grant's tendency to keep most aspects of his personal life secret, his battles with substance usage were not as well known during his career. But people close to him disclosed that the actor frequently turned to drink to help him cope with the demands of his celebrity and the emotional pain from his turbulent marriages. Later on, to gain a deeper understanding of himself, Grant went to therapy and even tried LSD experiments before giving up booze. Notwithstanding these personal setbacks, Cary Grant's reputation as one of Hollywood's most dapper stars is untarnished. Joan Crawford. Known for her glitzy on-screen presence, Joan Crawford, one of the most recognizable actresses of Hollywood's golden age, fought a severe alcohol addiction off-screen. According to reports, she started drinking to help her deal with the intense strain of upholding her star status, particularly in the later stages of her career when parts were more challenging to come by. Crawford's close friends and family regarded her as a high-functioning alcoholic who could keep up a perfect public persona while secretly taking copious amounts of alcohol. Many of her unpredictable and turbulent acts were fueled by this addiction, as her daughter's infamous biography, Mommy Dearest, and other Hollywood tell-alls have chronicled. Crawford's drinking damaged her friendships and familial ties, in addition to casting a pall over her otherwise brilliant profession, leaving a complex legacy of beauty, brilliance, and personal sorrow. John Barrymore. One of the finest actors of all time and a member of the legendary Barrymore acting family, John Barrymore's career is tarnished by his struggle with alcoholism. Barrymore gained notoriety for his dramatic performances on stage and television, as well as his alcoholism. It was well known that he loved to drink and that his drunkenness frequently affected his demeanor on set. Barrymore was a fantastic performer at the height of his career, but as his drinking deepened, his acts grew erratic and he began to forget his lines. His personal life suffered as well. As a result of his binge drinking, he ended multiple marriages in divorce. Barrymore made an effort to quit drinking, but he was never able to kick the habit completely, and as a result, his health declined. At 60 years old, he died in 1942, leaving behind a complex legacy of genius and self-destruction. Peter O'Toole. In addition to his remarkable acting, Peter O'Toole, the hero of Lawrence of Arabia, was well known for his outrageous lifestyle, which included binge drinking. Hollywood and beyond were well aware of O'Toole's famous love of alcohol, and tales of his binge drinking have long since been passed down. O'Toole drank excessively during his career, frequently to the point of passing out in public. Even during the lowest points of his drinking, O'Toole was able to continue a thriving career and deliver memorable performances. Many of his co-workers were amazed at his ability to perform brilliantly, even when drunk. But O'Toole's drinking hurt his health, and by the 1970s, medical professionals had warned him that his alcoholism was putting his life in jeopardy. In the end, he matured and carried on acting till his death in 2013, leaving a magnificent body of work that transcended his struggles in life. Darl Flynn. The dashing good features and daring spirit of Darl Flynn, the swashbuckling star of Captain Blood and the Adventures of Robin Hood, were well known off-screen, but his personal life was marred by controversy and heavy drinking. Flynn was famous for leading a wild lifestyle that involved several affairs, heavy drinking, and ongoing partying. Flynn's love of alcohol shaped his bad boy persona, and he didn't try to disguise his vices. His drinking eventually started to have an impact on his career, as producers and directors began to voice concerns about his unpredictable behavior on set. Flynn's extravagant lifestyle finally caught up with him, and by the time he was in his 50s, his condition had seriously declined. After he suffered a heart attack at the young age of 50, his autopsy revealed that years of hard living had taken their toll on his body. Despite passing away too soon, Flynn is still regarded as a famous character in Hollywood, known for his extravagant off-screen behavior and his magnetism on-screen. Jan Michael Vincent. During the 1970s and 1980s, Jan Michael Vincent was a rising star most recognized for his parts in The Mechanic and Airwolf. But his battles with alcohol cast a cloud over his bright career. Early on, Vincent's drinking became an issue, which resulted in multiple arrests and unpredictable behavior both on and off set. It was getting harder for him to keep a steady job in Hollywood as his addiction got worse. His drinking ruined Vincent's acting career. By the 1990s, he had vanished from public view. His personal life was equally chaotic, consisting of 3 failed marriages and numerous accidents that left him severely injured. He disclosed in 2012 that complications from peripheral artery disease had resulted in the amputation of his right leg as a result of drunkenness. Vincent's sad story demonstrates how even the most promising professions may be derailed by the demands of fame and addiction. 2019 saw his passing, leaving a complicated legacy. Humphrey Bogart. One of Hollywood's most recognizable stars, Humphrey Bogart battled alcoholism for a large portion of his life. Bogart was well known for his tough guy attitude in movies like Casablanca and The Maltese Falcon, and others who knew him well told stories of his heavy drinking. Bogart's love of booze became a significant component of his persona, both on and off screen, since he was frequently spotted with a drink. His personal life suffered, though it seldom impacted his career. His marriages were tainted by infidelity and conflicts driven by drink, especially his first three. Because of his alcoholism, even his renowned marriage to Lauren Bacall in 1945 was not without its difficulties. Notwithstanding these problems, Bogart remained a highly regarded character in Hollywood, respected for his acting prowess and the unique fusion of strength and fragility he brought to his parts. In 1957, Bogart passed away from esophageal cancer, a condition frequently associated with his excessive drinking and smoking, leaving a lasting legacy in the film business. Robert Shaw. Actor Robert Shaw was also severely impacted by alcohol. He is best remembered for playing the memorable character of salty fisherman Quint in the Jaws movie. Shaw was a talented actor who could play heroes and villains with equal skill, but his heavy drinking frequently interfered with his personal and professional life. Shaw was a heavy drinker on the Jaws set, to the point where co-stars Richard Dreyfuss and Roy Scheider recalled times when Shaw would get wasted while the movie was being filmed. Despite these problems, Shaw's portrayal of Quint is regarded as one of the movie's most recognizable parts. Nevertheless, he frequently used alcohol as a coping method for his emotional and physical difficulties, which led to health issues. Shaw tragically passed away at the age of 51 from a heart attack. Many people partially blamed this loss on his protracted struggle with alcoholism, but his reputation is one of unadulterated talent and genius. W.C. Fields. The legendary comedian W.C. Fields, renowned for his trademark drawl and irascible on-screen character, struggled with alcohol throughout his life. Fields often portrayed characters who shared his love of alcohol in his comedy performances, incorporating his love of alcohol into them. Beneath the humor, though, was a man who was a heavy drinker, using alcohol as a coping strategy for his problems and health problems. Fields was well known for drinking a lot of alcohol, even when filming, and for hiding bottles in unusual locations. Fields was well liked in the business for his wit and comedic timing, despite his alcoholism. His drinking eventually hurt his health, and in his later years, he developed severe kidney and liver issues. His battles with addiction marked his career, but it is remembered as one of tremendous comedy and talent when he passed suddenly in 1946 at the age of 66. Gail Russell. In the 1940s, Gail Russell was a rising star in Hollywood, admired for her skill and attractiveness. Her battle with alcohol caused her potential career to be wrecked, despite her roles as John Wayne's opposite in movies like Angel and The Bad Man. Russell was quite introverted and frequently felt overburdened by the demands of celebrity. She turned to alcohol as a coping mechanism for her worry, and it soon became a crutch in her personal and professional life. Her drinking caused her to act erratically on stage, which cost her jobs. Russell made multiple attempts to turn her career around, but her addiction only got worse. Her personal life deteriorated as well, as she had several DUI arrests, broken relationships, and legal issues. Sadly, Gail Russell's journey came to an abrupt end when, at the age of 36, she passed away from alcohol-related liver disease. Even the most skilled performers can experience a downward spiral due to the demands of Hollywood, as her life serves as a warning tale. Spencer Tracy. One of the best performers of his time, Spencer Tracy battled alcoholism for most of his life, which frequently coexisted with his extraordinary playing abilities. Tracy's lifelong excessive drinking, which began early in his career, affected his relationships at work and in his personal life. Tracy gave remarkable performances in beloved movies like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and Inherit the Wind, despite his alcoholism. However, his drunkenness caused him to experience depressive episodes and caused his marriage to Louise to fail. Tracy's drinking also caused issues for the actress Katharine Hepburn and their long-term relationship. Hepburn made an effort to help him, but their relationship suffered as a result of his addiction. Amazingly, Tracy's drinking seriously harmed his health, yet he was still able to put on influential shows well into his latter years. When Spencer Tracy died in 1967, he not only left behind a terrible memory of a life ravaged by addiction, but also a legacy of grandeur in cinema. Bela Lugosi. Bela Lugosi became a Hollywood legend for his terrifying performances in horror films. He is best remembered for playing Count Dracula in the 1931 picture Dracula. Behind the scenes, though, Legosi battled alcoholism and a painkiller addiction. As his acting career began to wane, Legosi's battle with addiction began. This led him to feeling trapped in his legendary role as Dracula and unable to break free. He turned to alcohol as a coping mechanism for the disappointment and annoyance of a stagnant profession. Legosi's health declined as his addiction got worse, and he was forced to appear in low-budget movies to support himself. Legosi never really conquered his addictions despite multiple attempts at recovery, including well-publicized stays in treatment institutions. At 73, he passed unexpectedly in 1956, leaving behind a mixed legacy of exceptional performances and personal hardships. In addition to being a horror legend, Bela Lugosi was a gifted actor whose career was clouded by individual issues. Gig Young. The Academy Award-winning actor Gig Young, best known for his part in the movie They Shoot Horses, Don't They?, had an alcohol problem and personal issues that eventually overshadowed his work. Early in his career, Young started drinking, and as his notoriety grew, so did it. His drunkenness caused him to act erratically on set, frequently arguing with directors and fellow actors. Young was charming and talented, but his drinking made him more challenging to work with, and by the 1970s, his career was starting to wane. Young experienced numerous unsuccessful marriages and depressive episodes in his personal life, all of which were made worse by his heavy drinking. In 1978, Young killed his fifth wife and subsequently committed suicide due to a drunken outburst, bringing his tragic story to an abrupt conclusion. His death rocked Hollywood, and his legacy lives on as a warning to others about how addiction can ruin even the most prosperous careers. Although Gig Young's skill is still evident, his life and career have been marred negatively by his alcoholism. Bernard Lee. Bernard Lee was another actor whose career was impacted by his alcoholism. He is most renowned for playing M in the James Bond flicks. As his career developed, Lee's drinking became an issue, especially in his later years. His habit of drinking in hand while on set started to affect his performance. Throughout his career, he kept up a steady work pace, but his alcoholism caused tension in all of his relationships, including his wife. Although Lee's co-workers were aware of his drinking issue, they chose to ignore it for the most part because of his well-established status as a gifted character actor. Regretfully, Lee's drunkenness led to health issues in his latter years, and following a fight with stomach cancer, he died in 1981. Despite his difficulties, Bernard Lee's legacy lives on thanks to his legendary portrayal as the original M in the James Bond films. This character captivates viewers all over the world. Albert Finney. The British actor Albert Finney, who starred in movies including Erin Brockovich and Tom Jones, was well known for being a strong drinker. Some sources indicate he became sober later in life and a talented performer. Many of Finney's contemporaries and co-workers noted his love of alcohol, which was part of his larger-than-life persona. Although Finney overcame his addiction to produce amazing performances, his drinking did hurt his personal life. Because of his alcoholism, he was sometimes regarded as hard to work with, and as a result, his relationships frequently suffered. With a career spanning more than 50 years, Finny remained one of the most renowned actors in the business despite these problems. His early years in the spotlight were characterized by severe alcohol usage, which he later reduced as he grew older. 2020 saw the death of Finny, who was 82 years old, but who left behind a legacy of incredible performances despite a lifelong struggle with alcoholism. Lon Chaney Jr. Son of silent film icon Lon Chaney Jr. gained notoriety in Hollywood by playing the Wolfman in the 1941 picture The Wolfman. Chaney Jr.'s career was hampered by constant drinking, which frequently overshadowed his incredible talent. Like many performers of his period, Chaney turned to drink to help him deal with the demands of Hollywood and the burden of his father's legacy. In the industry, word spread about his drinking habits, with some pointing out that he would often show up on set drunk. Despite these obstacles, Chaney had a prosperous career in horror movies in the 1940s and 1950s, but his personal life was in disarray. His drinking caused him to have unsuccessful marriages, struggle financially, and experience deteriorating health over time. Due to his excessive alcohol consumption, Chaney's health had drastically declined by the 1960s, and he died in 1973 at the age of 67. Known for his memorable performances and ongoing addiction struggles, Lon Chaney Jr. is still regarded as a tragic figure. Broderick Crawford. The All the King's Men actor Broderick Crawford, who won an Oscar, was well known for his tough guy portrayals, but he also battled alcoholism for a long time. Early in his career, Crawford's drinking became a serious problem. There are tales of his turning up to film sets intoxicated and getting into fights with other actors and staff members. Crawford struggled with alcoholism, but could still perform solid performances and earn praise for his parts in television and movies. He won an Academy Award for depicting Willie Stark in All the King's Men, but his addiction persisted despite this honor. Crawford's drinking worsened with time, resulting in health issues and a drop in the caliber of his output. His personal life suffered as well, since he had financial difficulties and several unsuccessful marriages. At the age of 74, Broderick Crawford passed suddenly in 1986, leaving behind a legacy that combined his extraordinary brilliance with the devastating results of his alcoholism throughout his life. Stories of excess and stardom abound in Hollywood, yet alcohol ultimately proved to be the undoing of many of these celebrities. Their legacies serve as a warning that, despite appearances, addiction frequently hides a terrible and protracted shadow.
If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon